Hey, what's up, everybody? Monday, new week. Let's see what happens this week in crypto. It's already starting off pretty nice. We got a beautiful daily engulfing candle that brought us right back to this previous swing high over here. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about XRP. We're going to talk about Theta. You know, the stuff we usually talk about, and a few other things as well. So, right off the bat, let's look at the weekly chart since we just had the weekly candle close. Wow. That was a interesting weekly candle right here. And the reason why is because it's sort of like it's a doji, but it's interesting because you see this red candle here. We closed down, right? And then we opened, we tagged the low, and then we got bought right back up. So that told me this candle, this weekly candle was not ready to go down. So if you can't go down, you can't bust them down, you got to bust them up, right? So yeah, I mean the weekly candle looks great. So for example, you could see that same candle right here, right? But then we went down. The reason why is because if you look at this candle here, see, it all depends where you're going into it. For example, this candle, we were going up into the doji, which brought it down. This candle right here, we were going down into the doji, right? So just a little bit of weekly candle analysis there. All right, let's look at the daily chart. And like I said, we have a daily engulfing candle. And the video, I think the previous video I did was somewhere in here. I think it was right here on Friday. Um, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So that was a couple days later. So now we're back up to here. And then the previous video before that was when we were up here. So just a little bit of a recap. Obviously, right, we had this move to the upside. And when we were right here, I said there's a good potential, right? We don't want to dump to the downside. We want a nice three-wave correction, and that's exactly what we got. I would have liked to seen it a little bit cleaner, but it is a nice looking three-wave correction. So we have a move up, a three-wave pullback, and now look what we're doing now. We're moving right back up. So this is exactly what we want to see. Bitcoin is up almost 5% today. That's a big move for Bitcoin, right? 5%. That's a pretty big move for Bitcoin standards. So let's look at it. Let's see if we can figure anything out here. What is the next move going to be? Does this change anything? Do we still have to go down into reaccumulation? Right? Well, we never did unless we were breaking 53, 54. But right now we have what appears to be a three-wave move, right? So that could just be a three-wave correction, right? So again, let's talk about what we were talking about, which is what? This three-wave move here, right? So we have a 1, 2. If this could be an A, B, C, or it could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just say it's a wave 1. Okay, and then we have a three-wave pullback. So then the idea is this is a wave 1, this is 2, and now we're moving up into 3, and then we're going to get a 4, and then we get a 5. Right? It'll probably be bigger than that, right? It would have to equal the size. It'd have to be bigger than the size of wave 1, right? So we would be starting our wave to the upside. So that's one idea we can look at. And really what that would be is you have 3 down, 3 up, and then 5 down. So A, B, C. There's your three-wave move right there. And you have a 1, expanded flat for a 2, and then you have another 1, three-way pullback for a 2, and we're ready to go to the moon. I mean, that's what that idea says, right? I mean, it's not going to happen today or tomorrow. It might take a couple weeks. We might flag out a little bit. We might break up. We might pull back again. We might dwindle around before we get going, right? It might take some time, but that's the idea for the 1-2-1-2. Now, if you're new to the channel, the whole idea of this structure here is really comes down to two things. There's only two counts when it comes to Bitcoin, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can see wave 2 and wave 4 are in the same degree. So that's the main idea. That's been my main idea ever since we've been in this correction, is a 5-wave leg. Now, the other idea is that this is distribution, and we actually have to come back down between, the 40s and 30s, right? Basically going into reaccumulation, right? So exactly what happened over here, you had this box, right? A box, right? So rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways breakout. Same thing, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways breakout. So that means we'd have to come down and then go back up. The reason I don't like that is because of the shape that this thing is creating. This doesn't give me a distribution feeling, right? Especially because it's bull flaggish. You can see we're slanting to the downside, right? Now, if this thing was, for example, slanting to the upside, I would say, yeah, we probably do have to come down, right? So anyways, that's kind of how I'm thinking. Now, that doesn't mean it's out of the question, right? How do we know if we're going down into reaccumulation? Well, simple. We would just have to break this low. But even if we break that low, it still might not even be reaccumulation. It could still technically be a fourth wave, right? So if we break the low right at 54K, we have one more chance at it being a fourth wave. Do you know what that is? It's basically a WXY, right? So we would have 3 down, W. We would have 3 up, that's your X, right? And then we would have 1, 2, 3 back down, that's your Y, right? Now, you could argue that this 1, 2, 3 was the move, but we didn't take the wick out, right? It was a kind of a flat there for the 3-wave move. So I don't, and then another reason why I don't like it is because of how big it's getting. You can see, let me just take this off real quick. There we go. So you could see this move here, right? So 1, 2, 3, right? So we have 1, and then we have 1, 2, 3, right? So that would be 5. This whole move down is 5. This whole move up is 3. Maybe maybe, since this is 1, 2, 3, maybe that's what we're getting here. 1, 2, 3. And we actually got to come up a little bit more and hit the top here. Get everybody very bullish, right? So 1, 2, 3. And then we would have probably a wave like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? You would take the low. You get everybody super bullish. Remember, the market maker's job is not to make us rich. It's to make them rich, right? And the way they do that is by targeting liquidity. So, and the best way to screw over the market is to make the market believe that it's going to do something when in reality it does the opposite. But then once that move happens, people then believe that, and then what they do is they take it right back up. So it's like a double fake out, right? That's what it is. So this count is very much possible, right? We could have a massive C19 style dump. But I think, if that were to happen, it would happen right around the election, right? Maybe something like that to take out all the liquidity. Because people right here, they're all leveraged up. They're ready to go. They're ready to become multimillionaires. And then what happens? They take it down and they crush you. They liquidate you and then they bring it up. And then once they bring it up, now you got no money. You're broke. You're liquidated. And then the bull run leaves without you. They basically stole your money and then they took it anyway, right? So that's how they play, and that's why that's one of the reasons why I like doing the YouTube channel, is so I can teach people how they like to do things. So that is very well a real count. So do I think that count's going to happen? It's kind of up for debate at this moment. I don't think I think if they did that, it would be a little bit too big for a fourth wave. Remember, we want it to be in the same degree. So you can look at this wave 2, you can see how big it was, right? And now look at the wave 4 and you can see how big it is. So it's getting a little bit bigger, but in reality the bottom was here, right? And this one, the bottom was right there. So it's about 150 days, and this one's about 147 days, I think. But if we do break the low, it could drag on a little bit longer, right? So so we have 3 down, 3 up, and then 1, 2, 3 down. It's a flat right there. You take the liquidity, right? Well, first you would target the upside liquidity. So you would probably break that. And if you break that and everybody's like, okay, new all-time high, we're at 75K or 74K, and everybody's convinced we're going long, and then we dump down, right? So that would take liquidity here. You would take liquidity here. Then you would bring it up. And what I'm trying to say is you have a W, X, and a Y, right? So that would be our last chance. Now, could it happen from here? Yeah, it could, but it doesn't look finished. It looks like it needs a little bit more to go. That doesn't mean right away. It could take some time, right? And then the other idea here is, again, we're finished. This is a 3-wave move. We're finished. That's a 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so we got all that out of the way. Let's look at the smaller time frames, like the 1-hour chart, and you can see. Remember, I think we were talking about Zcash and what Zcash did, right? Let's look at Zcash for just 1 second. Look at right here. And Zcash was one of the leaders in this. And I don't care about Zcash, right? But look what Zcash did. And this is why I was confident in the move. So we crashed down. We had a move, a very shallow retracement. And then what did we do? We came and we took the low ever so slightly. And then what did we do? We came up and we flagged out and then we broke out. Okay, so remember that. Now look what Theta did right here. Theta is actually behind, right? So Zcash had already done this. So you can see the same thing. We had a crash. We had a shallow retracement. We came, we took the low ever so slightly. And what did Zcash do? It came up and then it flagged out. And then what did it do next? It popped the high. And what are we doing right now? Exactly, right? And that's what I said back in Friday. That is a very real potential, right? But now if we look at Bitcoin, what's very interesting here, when we look at Bitcoin and we go to the 4-hour chart's fine. We had the same kind of move, right? So we came down, we had a shallow retracement, we hit the low, divergence, we came up, and then we flagged out, and then we hit the high. So that's exactly what Zcash did. But Zcash did it, I want to say like a week ahead of time, right? Because Zcash is already, you can see Bitcoin, right, is like right here, right? So it's like 3 or 4 days behind. And Zcash flagged out, and now it's hitting the high again, right? So, anyways, I thought that was interesting because sometimes fractals, right, they happen a lot fast. They happen a lot quicker than looking at a fractal like 3 or 4 years ago, right? I mean, sometimes they can happen fast. So that's why I look for coins that relatively have smaller market caps that are correlated to the rest of the market, because a lot of times they move first, right? Because if I threw a rock in the ocean, you're not going to see the splash. But if I threw a rock in a little swimming pool, you're going to see the splash, right? So think of Zcash as that little swimming pool, and think of Bitcoin as the ocean, right? Eventually, when that rock hits the water, it's going to make a wave, and eventually that wave is going to come to you, right? So if you can spot it before it comes to you, then you can figure out what it's doing. So back in our last video, we were looking at this right in here. I want to say it was Friday. So right here. So we had this move to the upside, just like this. And what did I say? I said, I want to see a three-way pullback. Actually, let me show you this right here. I want to show you even more zoomed in. I mean, we perfectly nailed this, guys. Look at this. We had a 1, 2, right? 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Now, you could argue that this is a 1. You can see how small the 2 is. And you can see how small the 4 is. So I want to say that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then what we had was an A, B, C pullback. We had an expanded flat for a pullback, right? And then we had this 1, 2, 1, 2 right here, the slanted M, and then we took off. So we did exactly what we wanted to see, right? Did I know that was going to happen for sure? No, but that's what we look for, right? We want to see it flagging out. We want to see that three-wave structure. Anytime you have an impulse and a three-wave pullback, that is the most bullish setup you can have. So we had a 1, 2, 1, 2, and now you can see we pumped, and now here we are, right? So what's the next move? Well, according to Zcash, I mean, you're right at resistance here. Let's zoom out a little bit more. You can see we're right at resistance here. Very, very critical area right here, 66K, right? And I can even go back. Let me zoom out a little bit more. This point here and this point here. So I would actually just say it's a zone more than anything, right? And then we have this move up here, right? So that's sort of the gap in between here. So what did Zcash do, or what is it doing now? Well, basically what it did is it did a three-wave little move like that, and now it's popping the high. So that's kind of what I'm expecting for Bitcoin. Now, October is supposed to be October, but if everybody believes it's going to be October, then everybody position themselves for October, and then you get a long squeeze, right? Just like you get a short squeeze on the opposite direction. Now, October is really good for Bitcoin seasonality, right? So, but when in October? Is it the beginning of October or the end of October? So there's 4 weeks in a month. The first 2 weeks are basically over. The first 2 weeks are sort of not so great, right? I mean, they're okay, but the next 4 weeks, the next 2 weeks, the last part of October is usually the more bullish part of October, right? So here we go. Here's the seasonality, and you could see this is not just the month. This is actually breaking it down day by day by day. You can see October 17th. That's a massive dump right there. So this is just taking the average returns from all of the Octobers that Bitcoin has had. You could see the first part of October is it's smaller. But look at the second part of October. Look how much bigger those things are. right? And when I say things, I mean, I guess you call them histograms. So those are pretty big, those bars, relative to those, right? So right now we're at October 14th, and coincidentally, you could see October 13th was a big pump right there, right? So it's actually, I would say, since October 13th was on a Sunday, right? Um, it's kind of making up for it on October 14th. You see it's kind of a smaller bar there. So I thought that was I thought that was pretty interesting. So we'll see how this thing plays along. But we should expect, if everything goes according to what it's been doing, we should expect some pretty big moves so towards the end of October. I think the biggest day in October is October 25th. Okay, so maybe that might be an interesting time. Okay, so now that we got all that, so what's going on now? Well, if this is in an impulse, then that means, right? If this was um our wave one right here, so here's your wave one, and then you have an A, B, C. That's your wave two, and then you have a one, A, B, C. That's a two, and now we're impulsing to the upside. It might take some time. It doesn't mean it's going to happen right away. Okay, because you see this little cup here, right there? We can easily come down and make a little handle like that, right? So that's the bullish idea. So the other idea is that this is a wave two, but it's a more complex wave two, like we were talking about on Friday. So for example, we have three down, okay? We have three up. So what comes next? We either get five down or three down. So let's just say five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then now what do you have? You have an A, B, C. You have a much larger correction flagging out. So, kind of like how this was flagging out, right? 1, 2, flagging out. 1, 2, flagging out, right? So that's basically the two main ideas. So what do you guys think? Do you think this is an ABC and it's done, and now this is a 1-2 and we're ready to roll? Or do you think this is a W, this is a three-wave move, that's an X, and we're going to get another three-wave move down, that's a Y? So WXY, right? There's no evidence to say that's the case, especially because we're right at the retracement levels. I mean, we've already busted through a lot of them. And not only that, I don't really like that idea so much, simply because this is a pretty big impulse, right? I mean, look at the way that came up and look at the way that came up. It's much more impulsive. But the thing is, B waves are meant to be traps, right? If this is a B wave, one moment. If this was if this was A or W and this is B, well, A's are supposed to be corrective. B's are supposed to be also corrective, but they're supposed to be a trap, right? So this could be a trap. That's all I'm saying. But how do we know if it's a trap? Well, let's see how it reacts. We have to see. It's too early to tell. We have to see how it reacts in here. For example, this move we just had right here, do we start flagging out? Do we start impulsing down? I mean, there's a lot of things that we have to look for. So that's basically the main idea. I mean, if this is going to be 3 or it's going to be a bigger 3. But either way, we're going up. We're going up. That's what I think. That's not financial advice. I could be totally dead wrong. In which case, we would have that bigger WXY, or even worse, reaccumulation. So that's it for Bitcoin. I mean, it's looking really bullish right now. I have to be honest. It's looking quite interesting to me. The reason why also is because, number one, obviously we have this three-wave move down, right? But more than that, I'm liking what I'm seeing right in here. So you could see it, right? We're cupping into the resistance, cupping into the resistance, cupping into the... Oh, is that an inverse head and shoulders? It looks like it, isn't it? Right? So anytime you're cupping into the resistance, cupping into the, you're knocking on the door, you're knocking on the door, and then eventually you're going to break it, right? I mean, that's just usually what happens. But is it going to break today? No. Is it going to break tomorrow? Probably not. It's going to take a little bit of time because remember, we came from all the way down. What was that? 58K guy, or let's just say 59K. Okay, so we were at 59K just last week, just a couple days ago, and now we're all the way up at 66K. I mean, that's a big move right there. So to think that it's going to keep going, right? I mean, this is how they trap you. This is how they like to play it. Now, of course, it could very well do that, but we want to see what? Well, let me zoom in. We want to see a five-wave move. Do we have a five-wave move? Well, it looks like we have a 1-2. It doesn't look like the third is finished. It looks like all of this is 3. We're going to get a 4, and then we get a 5. That's what we want to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then from there, we want to see a bigger ABC, right? Similar to the size of this, right? How we're flagging out in here. Flagging out in here. So my guess is we correct a little bit to the downside, tag the low, come up, make a 5th wave, and then flag out. And then by the time it's Thursday, that's when we start really pumping. So that's kind of what I would like to see for Bitcoin. All right, so let's move on. I'm actually going to do CRV next. I like CRV, guys. I remember I was telling you guys on Friday that I'm thinking this is more of a Wyckoff. And now some time has passed. It looks much more like Wyckoff to me. So we have this 3-wave move to the upside, right? We came down and we took the low here. We took the low, right? We came back up. We had an impulse to the back to the upside, and then we had this 3-wave correction. So impulse, 3-wave pullback. And now what are we doing now? We're impulsing, right? So we're right at the resistance here. So yeah, I think it looks interesting. And like I said, ever since we were down here, I was calling for a retracement. So, and by the way, look at how massive this impulse was. And now look what we have. We have a beautiful 1, 2, 3-wave pullback. And look, we took the low. Like, it's not like a traditional 3-wave pullback where you really get down here. We barely took the low, and we're building a base right in here, right? So again, impulse, 3-wave pullback, and a Wyckoff accumulation structure at the end of the 3-wave pullback. I mean, you don't get any more bullish than that. So, but we need to see evidence that it's going to react, because it could still be a 4th wave. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we go, right? We could hit the high, hit the low, then go. Remember what I said, the double fake outs, right? But regardless of that, I think once it's finished, we should get a retracement from this wave. So if I pull on the Fibonacci retracement, not that one, this one, and I bring it to the downside, I mean, probably like 29.23 or 29.87, around that 618. So that's what I'm thinking. And then from there, we reevaluate. I really think this is the bottom here. You can see, you can start to see what I'm seeing here, right? So, but yeah, let's look at again at the smaller time frames real quick, and then we'll move on. By the way, when I zoom out even more, the idea here is to get back to this area right there, between that 44 and 54 cent area. And you can see this impulse three-way pullback, right? So it looks like it's primed to go up. Even if it's not going to do that, it still needs to do that, right? Because you need a three-wave correction. If this is not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, then that's fine. We still need, what do we need? An ABC, right? A three-wave move that comes and tests this as resistance, and then we continue down. But that's for another time, right? So we'll see how impulsive this is. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or it could be a 1, 2, 3. So we'll see. As far as, like, if I look really zoomed in here on the 20-minute chart, we could have, this is 3 up, right? And then we have 1, 2, 3 down. So this could be A, this could be B, and now we have 5 up, right? And now we're going up into C. So A, B, C. So it's part of a larger three-way move. So we're going to want to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want to see it really impulse out of there. So that's what I got there for CRV. Let's keep moving on. Now Theta is looking very interesting as well. So let's go to the 4-hour chart. So as you guys know, for Theta, I was looking for a retracement, right? So we had a couple ideas. The first one being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's your A, okay? And then we have 1, 2, 3. Maybe we get up a little bit higher, then we pull back, and then we get a little bit higher. So that would be a B. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down for C. So it could be a large A, B, C, something like that, right? And that would line up with our fractal, okay? And that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. And you're saying, oh, well, now Theta's got to come back down to, like, $1.17 again, $1.10. Well, not necessarily, but that's kind of the way I'm leaning. I just feel like it needs to be a little bit, establish a little bit more of a base here. Because, you have, you just kind of eyeball it and you can see, you have this oscillation, but then you're kind of stuck in the middle here, right? So it feels like it needs to complete and then go, right? So we have a solid point here. We have a solid point there. I mean, that's just kind of on the face of it. But also, more than that is the fractal, which is this fractal right here. You can see, we came up, we have this three-way move down, and we continue higher. Here's the other fractal. Or the larger perspective, and this is kind of what it looks like. So you're crashing to the downside. You have 3 up, right? You hit the high, and then you have 3 back down, and then you continue higher, right? So when you look at the total market cap, you can kind of see that here, right? You have 3 up, and then remember we had that big dump, and then we come up in a B wave, and then you have a C, right? So looking at the 12-hour chart, how do we translate that? Well, we have, again, 3 up, right? Same thing. And then we come down, and then we go up into a B wave. That's what we're doing now. And then we have like a long kind of C wave. A long C wave that could take out this liquidity down here, right? It comes down, and then it breaks out, gets back to about $1.90 or $2, and then it flags out in here, and then it goes. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, Now, I'm not saying it's got to be this big. I'm not saying it's got to take that much time, but that's kind of what I'm thinking here. Now I can chain that. That could be changed, right? Now, for example, it could look something like this, where you have an A, B, and then you kind of come down. You kind of go into reaccumulation, and then you break out, and then you flag out. You hit the high, and then either up from there or down into reaccumulation up later. So that's kind of what I'm thinking as far as theta goes. So right now it's looking pretty good. Now, could this be a done deal? Right, and now we're going up from here. Well, it could be, right. In which case, instead of this being a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, an A, I would look at it as an A, B, C, right? So you have this move up, A, B, C, right? And then let me zoom in. And then what? You have A, B, C, and then you have this 1, 2, and now we're going up into 3, right? And you can see, a little bit of inverse head and shoulders there as well. So we'll see how that plays out. But it's looking a little bit corrective right now. You're definitely running into some resistance, right? I mean, that could be our if this is a B wave, it could be already finished, right? It could be just a shallow B wave, and then we hit the low, and then we go. So A, B, C, something like that, right? But all in all, I mean, I'm very bullish on the market on the macro front, because ever since we've been in this zone, right, similar to this zone, just on a different time scale, ever since we've been in that zone, I've been calling for a retracement back to the upside, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, we have a completed move to the downside. Now we're building a base. Here's your sell side of the curve. Right here, right? And then you have your base right down here. And then you have the buy side of the curve, right? So it's all about where we are. And right now, the blue area is reaccumulation. So all of that is our reaccumulation, or our accumulation, I should say. So yeah, let's see how this continues to play out. As far as the weekly chart we just had, it's bullish. I mean, you could see we had a bullish hammer candle right there. So that's pretty good. That's what we want to see. Bullish hammer, similar to this one, right? Similar to that one. So yeah, let's see. Okay, XRP. Nothing's changed, right? I mean, we're still just in the zone. We're on the NASA launch pad, and the clock's ticking down. 10, 9, 8, 7, and then the clock just broke. 6. Wait, I think it's broke, and they're trying to get it fixed again. So, it's kind of a wait and see situation, right? Because obviously we're in reaccumulation. We have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways breakout. I mean, you could just see it, right? Accumulation zone 1, zone 2, zone 1, zone 2. Liquidity grab, liquidity grab. So it's just a matter of time. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. And I think the election is going to have a lot to do with it as well. But as far as the small time frames go, what I think this is a flat, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So your wave 1, you have 3 down. There's your A. And then you have 1, 2, 3. There's your B. And now you have a C. Now, I don't know if C's finished or not. I mean, this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in here. Or it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right? And then we go up. So it'll be 1, 2, 3. Now, the whole thing with the SEC appeal, I know Ripple cross appealed. So, I mean, they might settle. I don't know. Who knows how this is going to play out. But the only thing I can do is rely on the chart. And the chart tells me, yes, it takes a while, but also the chart is telling me that it's bullish because you can't deny the wave count, right? The count is everything. And what is the count? You have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what is that? That's an A, B, C. Okay, so that's out of the way. So that move is done. So that's 3 up. So now you look for 3 down. And that's what we got. We got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we have 3 up. We have 3 down. So what comes next? You got to get 3 up or 5 up. And we haven't gotten that yet. We've only had 1 wave, which is, by the way, an impulse, not a correction. Right? So we had, so we'll say A, B, and now we have this wave 1. And now we're flagging out here for a wave 2. And the flag is a flat. So A, B, C. Right? And then once that A, B, C is finished, which I think it's almost done, then we should see the 3rd wave, which is going to be massive. Well, it's going to be pretty big. I mean, I think we can get up to at least a 90 to $1. Now, the massive wave comes when we break $1.30, $1.60. That's going to be when the massive wave occurs. So yeah, so you get 3, 4, and then 5, right? And then when we zoom out, right, you can see the 3-wave move. Right here, 1, 2, 3. There's your 3-wave move, right? So if that's the case, then that means we have another chance, right? We have another chance, if this is a 3-wave move, of flagging out in here to get really going, right? So it could be, a C wave can turn into a wave 1, right? So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That could be your 1, 2. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. And then if you flag out, it all depends how, the big thing is going to be is how it reacts in here. Do we impulse down? Do we flag out? That's going to be the big thing of how this happens, right? Because if we have, now for the bearish idea, right? If this is 3 down and this is 1, 2, 3 up, what do you think comes next? Either 5 or 3 back down, right? So we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. Or it could even be bigger, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that, right? And then when we zoom out, it's pretty devastating, actually. So what would the whole thing be? Well, if this is 3 down and this is 3 up, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, that would be basically a completed move, right? So what that would be is we would have 1, 2, 3 down. That's a W. And then we have 1, 2, 3 up. That's an X. Okay, you see where I'm going with this? And then you have 1, 2, 3 down. That's a Y. And then you go up. So that doesn't happen until probably this maybe sometime in 2025 or 2026, right? I mean, that's how terrible it would be. But that would be the idea, right there. So it would be a 3-wave move to the downside. And this is just a pit stop before a bigger. But the reason I don't like that count is because it's too big, right? It's not relative to what's going on here. If you look at wave A, and then you kind of come down, it's about 800 days, okay? And if you look at this, at the top of this, to where we are now, I mean, we're already at almost 1,300 days, and we haven't even gotten the other wave, right? So if I just drew it in there, like this, we have 3 down, 3 up, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. That's kind of what it would look like, something like that. So if I take my measurement, right, and I go from here all the way down, I mean, you're talking almost 2,000 days. That's more than twice the amount of time, and that's why it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it could happen, but it doesn't make too much sense as far as time goes. So what I think is more likely to happen is how corrective this was. You could see down in here, right, you had a bunch of we have 3 up, right, and then we have 3 down. You can see that, and then we exploded like nobody's business. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, right? We have 3 up, 3 down, and then explosion to the upside, right? So that all came in where we are reaccumulating. So if you translate that to this, it's the same thing, right? You have 3 up, 3 down. What happens next? Blast off. So I'm not saying that's going to happen. I mean, that's how I'm positioned. That's how I believe it's going to happen. So we'll find out. Now, if we get it to the retracement levels and we start acting funny, like we start rejecting hard, we could come down and back test. But if we don't have that 3-wave shape and we lose the back test and we come and we retest it as resistance, then I'm going to think, okay, this is probably a big 3-wave move before we go on later. So anyways, that's kind of what I'm thinking here for XRP. But looking at the 3-day chart and everything, I mean, it looks bullish. You can see we came down, we had some red candles. Doji candle told me that the low was most likely in. Then we had a bullish hammer. Now we have another bullish hammer. So you can see we have a bullish engulfing daily candle, right? So if we look at the small time frames, what's going on there? Well, right now we have a nice impulse. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, we have a nice impulse. So if we get a 3-way pullback, that would be a good potential long opportunity. But what else is going on here? Well, so what the heck is this? Well, there's a couple ideas here, and on Friday, the last video, I said this could be a diag, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you have an A, B, C, right? And then now we have 5 up, right? So 1, 2, maybe this is 3, 4, and 5, right? So the whole thing becomes 1, 2, 3, right? So A, B, C. So that's what I think is going on here. I think we're in the middle of the C wave. But since XRP dumped so much, I feel like it's a better discount than a lot of other coins. Because I'm expecting XRP to get back into this level at that 57, 58, 60 cent level. I think it's heading there probably soon. So maybe this week we should get back up to here, or even maybe next week. And then from there, we can either flag out, we can get rejected. I mean, there's a couple things. We could come down, we can back test. There's a lot of different things that could happen. So just hit subscribe, and we'll keep doing keep following what it's doing. So that's pretty much it for XRP. I mean, is there any other counts? Um, well, not really, unless it's finished, right? So you have 1, 2, 3. I mean, it could be that this is a three-wave move, right? And then this is a three-wave move down, and now we have another 1, 2, 3-wave move up. So W, X, Y. And maybe it got a little bit more to go, but then it's going to be finished, and then we start coming down. Because what we don't know is if we're going to get a fifth wave or not. It just looks a little bit too big, right? You can see 1, 2. Look how small 2 is, 3, and look how big 4 is. It just doesn't really make too much sense. So I'm more inclined to say that the fifth is done at this point because it's so big. So we have a 1, 2, right? And then all of this is 3. And then we have 4 and 5. Or you could say 1, 2, and then we have this flat here for 4, and then that's 5. Either way, this looks like a finished move here, right? So, yeah, I think we should be heading back up now. Okay, so Tia. I mean, Tia is looking really, really good. Like I said before, right? We wanted, when we were down in here, we want to see a nice shoulder, and that's exactly what we got. We came up, we made a shoulder, so now we have this inverse head and shoulders potential, right? So you take that measured move approximately, and then put it right there. Ballpark figure, about $11 would be a nice move. So I really like Tia because of the way it looks, and then also because of the fractal that we've seen, which is this fractal right here. I mean, you can see it pretty clearly, right? When you look at Sia coin, right? You can see we have an impulse. We had a completed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 5 waves down, right? And then we quickly reversed. And you can see we built a little bit of a base here, right? So that's kind of where we are. I mean, you can just look at it, right? And you can kind of see. And if we fast forward today, we saw this come up. So that's where we are today, right? So all we have to do is flag out a little bit here and break out. And we can get up to here and hopefully even further. A good target to have is obviously the 61A. That's $14, right? So from here, that would be about 130%. But if we break out, I'm looking at the 161A, which is almost 400%. And then I would actually go as far as a 4.236. So we're looking at 1100%. And that's typical for an altcoin. That's relatively low market cap, is to do about 10 or 11x, right around there. So, but as far as the small time frames go, I'm thinking this is a 1-2. So you can see it pretty clearly. So the one thing here is, according to that other fractal, remember the larger ABC fractal. So here's the idea for this altcoin, and not just this altcoin, but all the other ones, right? So we have 1, 2, and we have 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so then we have A, and then we come up 1, 2, 3. There's your B right there, and then what do we get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that, and there's your C, right? So we have an impulse, a 1, ABC, right, for a wave 2. So 1, 2. That's one way we can look at it. Another way you can look at it is that this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have an A, B, C to the downside, right? It's an expanded flat, and then this is like a 1-2, but I don't like it a lot because it's only 3 waves to the upside. So I would be more inclined to say that this is a 3-wave retracement, and then we got to come down into reaccumulation or something and then go later on. So we'll see how it plays out, but that's what I'm looking at. Total 3, same thing, right? We have this sort of obviously this one, and then we have an A. This could be a 3-way B, and then we're gonna get a C, something like that. That kind of drags out a little bit and then curls to the upside, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking here. It might take a little while, right? It might take some time to get out of here, but that's the overall shape and structure that I'm thinking. So it would be W, X, Y, X, Z. We have a completed correction. We have a 1, 2, and then we have a 1. And now we're getting that ABC for 2. And then we get that 3, 4, and 5. So that's what I'm looking at. Ethereum had a pretty big pump today. Back to the highs. You know, Bitcoin and Ethereum both had pretty decent days today. So, but I usually don't like that. I usually like Mondays to be mellow. I like Tuesdays to be also a little bit mellow. What we really want is for Wednesday, Thursday, or definitely Thursday, Friday to be bullish, right? That way we can get a strong weekly close. Because sometimes if you're too bullish in the beginning of the week, then you pull back in the later part of the week, and then it gives you a shallow weekly close, and then it sets up a worse week the following week, right? So, anyways, even something like, Ethereum Classic, we could see A, B, C, go, right? Or, for example, ADA, A, B, C, go. Right? That's what I'm thinking. I don't think it's just going to go like that. I mean, it could, and I would be very happy if it did. I would be pleasantly surprised. But, usually the bottoming structures are more drawn out, right? As shown in this fractal. So if I had to guess where we were, I would say we're somewhere right in here, right? So you pop the high, ABC, you have a bigger ABC that then takes us out. So you can see how long it was, right? So if we just count the points, kind of got like 1, 2, 3, 4, go. So for like ADA, 1, 2, 3, and then we get 4, and then go. Filecoin also had a nice bullish engulfing candle that I unfortunately missed. I was actually looking at it too, but you can't be in every coin, right? You got to kind of pick and choose which ones you want to stick with. So I might get in a little bit later, but I really like Filecoin. I think it's got a bright future ahead, and it's got a really, if it wanted to get back to the all-time high, I mean, you got a long ways to go. I mean, this thing's at not even $4. The all-time high was, I don't even know if this was it, but I want to say it was even higher than that. Yeah, so the all-time high was actually $230, right? So Filecoin, you got a 1, 2, 1, 2. And now you're building a zone in here. So this thing can really have some good returns, I believe. So in the meantime, right, if this is A and this is a B, 1, 2, 3, we get up to the upside, and then we get C and then go. That's kind of what I would like to see for Filecoin. Now, could we get up here and then flag out and then break out? Yes, absolutely. We can do that. But we're not going to know until we get there, right? So let's see what happens. QNT looking like a nice 1-2. And we have divergence here. I mean, this thing looks primed. I mean, I'm bullish. I mean, I think the market is in a nice spot right now. So got to give it a little bit of time, but I think it's getting there. Caspa has an interesting three-wave move to the downside. We'll see what happens there. Kind of looks like it's been following this channel in here. So we'll see. I still wouldn't buy it simply because it's gone up so much. I mean, this thing has never even had a correction. I mean, it's just up, 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 up. I mean, there's just no stopping. So if you got in early, you know, that's fine. But trying to get in now, it's like you're squeezing just a little bit of percentage. It's not worth it. H bar looking very well as well. Got a 1-2-1-2 here, right? You're building a little bit of a base. What am I expecting? A retracement. I want to see the price get back to this level, and that's what I believe. Now, does it have to draw out a little bit longer to get there? Maybe. Does it have to hit the low before it gets there? Maybe. But all in all, that's what I'm looking at. I mean, same thing with Phantom. I mean, you can see 1-2, 1-2, and now we're 1-2. I mean, this thing can get going pretty quick. Or it could be an A, B, C, like we were talking about the fractal. A, B, C, right, before it goes. So we have 5 down, we have 3 up, and then maybe 3 down, or probably 5 down. If that's going to be an ABC. But most likely it'd be reaccumulation if we did that. So the DXY, the dollar, also had a three-wave pullback. Boom, 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 right? So you had, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. And this looks like boom, boom, 1, 2, and now we get 3. So I'm expecting this wave to get higher and then lower. So 5 down, 3 up, and now 3 up can be way up here, right, before it goes down. So we have to track this wave. I think once this wave is finished, it's coming down. And it's going to break the low. So we'll find out. Ethereum, our XRP versus Ethereum, still looking pretty good. We got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you have an A, B, and now it looks like you're getting C. So we can see that three-wave move there. It's probably not finished, but yeah, you can see 1, 2, 3. So this could be 1, 2, 3. It could be actually a WXY. So 3 down, 3 up, 3 back down, right? And then continue higher. And you can see in the subwaves, we also had 1, 2, 3. Right? So 1, 2, 3. So yeah, I think once it's finished, 1, 2, 3. Right? And then 4, 5. Axelar. So this is kind of the one I'm sad about because I missed my entry. It didn't get filled. And if it would have filled it, it would have been a blessing. But anyways, you could see what Axelar did. It didn't have the, the three-wave and the C. So A, B, C, like that. Like all the other coins we were discussing as far as that fractal goes. So maybe this is telling the story of what others can potentially do. Remember, like how Zcash made that first move, right? So, I mean, we just sliced right there like it wasn't even there, right? So we had this 1, 2, right? and then we had another 1, and then we had A, B, C, 2. So this is another 1, and now we're flagging out for 2, right? So we could be going in the third of the third. So this is 1 of 3, this is 2 of 3. The third of the third could be very, very big. So I really want to get in Axelar. I'm trying to get in at a good price. I want to see it flag out a little bit more. If we go to the 1 hour chart, I mean, look at that. That's a gorgeous wave. I mean, look how, man, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's perfect. And then you have an A. Maybe this comes up like in a B, and then we get C. Boom, boom, boom. Something like that, where we come down and we backtest this area. It is backtest area, right? Play around a little bit and then fire to the upside. I mean, that's what I want to see. Hopefully we can get something like that. But I think that'll do it for this video. Matic is actually looking a little bit better. We got some divergence, I believe, on the 4 hour. Oh yeah, look at that. We got some bullish divergence. You could see from here down there up to there. So that's good. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I just don't like this kind of wave structure that much. But even with Matic, you know, we want to see if this is a flat though. If this is an A and this is a flat, we could come down for a C before going up. So watch out for that. But if we flag out in here, then we can, you know, have a better chance at getting to the retracement without having to worry about breaking that low. So again, it is an election. I mean, we got the election coming up soon. It's going to be here before we know it. So we could have some chaos, right? And we can have some markets rattling with fear of some type of event that they unleash. Who knows what it is? But anyways, we're just going to have to wait and see. So anyways, yeah, for Bitcoin, just watch out. This could be a retracement. You know, it could be a flat where you break the top and then come down and then go. So watch out for that. I just feel like it should take a little bit more time in this box and fill in a little bit more space before going. Also have this ascending triangle, right, as well. So you can see we're oscillating pretty nicely in this ascending triangle, and we are more than 70% of the way done, so we could break out soon. I'd like to see it come down a little bit more and then come pop the high. And the measured move of that approximately would be, wow, look at that, 85K. Are you ready for 85K? Because I am. I'm ready. Let's go. All right, guys, that'll do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully it was helpful. It is a little bit of a long video. I mean, it's very long video, and it is what it is. You know, this is our money. This is our life. This is everything when it comes down to it. So it needs a lot of attention. But anyways, that'll do it for this video. I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.